Hello, 6th grade. This is Mr. Hale. I hope that you and your families are safe and healthy during this strange and scary time. Today, I want to go through the first set of notes in your packet with you about percentages. Percentages are basically a very special type of fraction. The word percentage or percent comes from Latin, like a lot of terms in math and science. Per cent. Per means out of or from, and cent means 100, like century has 100 years, or $1 is divided into 100 cents. So per cent means out of 100. So, as I said, percentages are a special type of fraction that always has 100 as the denominator. And very often, what you'll need to end up doing is you need to go from a fraction to a percentage by finding an equivalent fraction that has 100 as the, let's see if I can write this, denominator. Yeah, writing this with a mouse is not as easy as writing it on the whiteboard. So, for example, if you have a shooting percentage for a basketball player, they don't take exactly 100 shots. Maybe they take 1,000 shots and they make 450 of them. So you would have 450 over 100 would be their actual number of shots made versus number of shots taken. But then you can convert that to a percentage by making the denominator from 1,000 down to 100 and then changing the numerator from 450 by the same amount. So let's talk about how that works. So let's start off with 1/2. Okay, so 1/2, what percentage is 1/2 equivalent to? Well, a percentage is just a fraction with 100 on the bottom. So how do we go from 2 to 100? 2 to 100. Well, you can multiply by 50. 2 times 50 gives you 100. Whatever you do on the bottom, you have to do the same thing on the top. So we're going to multiply 1 by 50, and that gives us a new fraction of 50 over 100. 50 over 100, we just take the number that's our numerator and we put it in front of the percentage symbol, and that gives us 50%. So 1/2 is the same thing as 50 over 100. So 1/2 is the same thing as 50%. Let me see if I can make a little more space for me to draw. There we go. Okay. How about 2/5? Well, once again, we're taking 2/5 and we're finding a fraction that has 100 as the denominator that is equivalent to 2/5. So how do we go from 5 to 100? 5 times 20 gives us 100. Let me see if I can make this smaller. There we go. So if we multiply the 5 by 20 to get 100 on the bottom, we can multiply the 2 by 20 on the top. 2 times 20 is 40. So we now have 40 over 100. The 100 gets moved over into this symbol, and the 40, the numerator, becomes your number. So 2/5 is the same as 40%. How about this situation? We know we have 65%. We're going backwards here. We already know the percent. We know this, and we know this. We want to turn that backwards to give us the fraction. So we have 65%. So this symbol, if you think about it, kind of looks like a 1 with a 0 and a 0, like 100. And then this, the number in front of that symbol, becomes our numerator. So 65% is the same as 65 over 100. So how do we turn that into a fraction? Well, what can both 65 and 100 be divided by? Think back to our unit on divisibility rules. 65 over 100. Well, this ends in a 5 and this ends in a 0. So that means both of these can be divided by 5. Okay, so on the bottom here, 100 divided by 5 gives us 20. And 65 divided by 5 gives us 13. So 65% is the same as 13 twentieths, because 65% is the same as 65 over 100, and that can be simplified to 13 over 20. What if our denominator is bigger than 100? Let's switch back to red here. So 390 over 500. So we got to go from 500 down to 100. We're not multiplying like we did here and here. We need to go down from 500 to 100. How do we do that? We're going to do the opposite of multiplication. We're going to divide. So 500 divided by 5 gives us 100. And up top, we've got to do the same thing. Whatever you do to the denominator, you've got to do the exact same thing to the numerator. So we have to do 390 divided by 5. Wow, that is a tough one to do just on the top of your head. Let's see. 390 times 2 would be 780. We divide that by 10, multiply the 5 by 2 as well. So 390 multiplied by 2, 5 multiplied by 2. 780 divided by 10 would be 78. That's a mental shortcut that I use when trying to divide by 5. Sometimes with big numbers, it's easier to divide by 10, and so you just double things. So 390 over 500 simplifies down to 78 over 100. The 100 becomes this symbol, and the numerator is the number that goes in front of that symbol. So we have 78%.